Hi, my love, and welcome back to Dreaming into Being. Today, I really want to talk about how beautiful our growth is and how us dedicating and devoting time to growing and to becoming closer with who we truly are is just such a beautiful journey. And I'm so grateful to be on that journey and to also take you with me on that journey. So, today I want to talk about self forgiveness and compassion towards past versions of yourself, towards past selves, and how you can really integrate as a whole as you're forgiving past versions of yourself. So, there's so much beauty in self forgiveness and integration. And when you start being able to integrate past versions of yourself that you may still feel disconnected with or resentment towards, you can start integrating as a whole being and getting closer with your actual self, because when your self is fragmented, it creates distance between who you really are and who you're expressing yourself as right now. So when you start practicing self compassion and forgiveness, you start to actually integrate more as a whole person and get closer to who you really are. Some reflective questions that you can return to after this episode or just really think about for a moment is: what past versions of yourself do you notice you feel resentment towards? What past versions of yourself do you notice that there's still some anger towards, or sadness or grief? And this can have to do with, decisions that you made in the past that maybe don't align with you anymore. And you don't fully accept that version of yourself that made those decisions yet. But integrating that is such a beautiful part of becoming whole as a person and offering shelter to that version of yourself that everybody may have shunned away. And then you can welcome her home. And I think that's such a beautiful way of looking at it. Forgiving past selves can be really challenging, right? So there's such a big tendency to feel guilt or shame about past decisions, about past actions, or maybe beliefs that you held around the world or around other people or around yourself. And finding out where you're still holding on to some guilt or shame can be a key towards unlocking where you're maybe not fully integrating past versions of yourself and still outcasting them. And the beautiful part about this is realizing that your past self is still part of you. And it's still a part of who you are, and those decisions and who you were in the past still contribute to who you are today. So to shift from shame into gratitude and love can help you integrate as a whole. And one of the things that you can do to kind of work towards that self-forgiveness is exploring the why behind your past actions. So wondering why your actions, even the ones that you regret, came from your available understanding and from your own survival needs and from your environment at the time. And really practicing to develop this compassion and understanding towards that version of yourself that chose those things, so you can really come from a place of love and understanding and know that what you may have decided at the time was something that you thought was best or that you did because of the circumstances, and that it's not something that you need to hold resentment towards over yourself. And for me, I really noticed this when I was making a decision a few months ago based on this curiosity that I really had and that I wanted to honor. And I noticed that after going down that certain path, following that curiosity, it wasn't actually what I wanted and it wasn't what felt aligned for me. And I went back to what did feel aligned for me, and I noticed that I still felt shame and resentment towards the version of myself that followed her curiosity and went down that path. And once I realized this, I noticed that I did what I thought was best at the time, and I didn't want to repress the part of myself that felt that curiosity. And at the end, it only led me deeper into what I know for myself to be true, and it's only led me to be more grounded in who I am. And I realized that it just taught me so much about myself. And when I started looking at it from that perspective, I became so much more at peace with those decisions that I made, and also with the returning back to my true expression and what feels aligned for me. And then I could fully integrate also that version of myself that chose that path into who I am and welcome her and actually feel grateful for her because she helped me get to where I am today. And this really comes with the practice of acceptance, right? So practicing compassionate acceptance, and you can do this through going back to that version of yourself and imagining that you're standing in front of her and really looking at her with a gaze of love and with understanding and compassion, and trying to understand things from where she came from. And you can ask questions and offer loving words and really just welcome her and honor her and be grateful and kind to that version of yourself, because she's a part of you. And even when decisions that they made in the past or the path they went down to led them astray from other people or led them astray into judgments and ostracization, the last thing that they need, the last thing that that version of yourself needs, is also judgment from you. You're the only one that can offer them the love and the guidance and the compassion that they really needed at that time. And you can still do that. So releasing judgment and letting go of that judgment towards that version of yourself and transforming it into acceptance really helps you integrate the whole experience as a whole. Because judgment really fragments us. It separates who you really are into different compartments, because you're not fully accepting. Like, you can notice as well as you're thinking about it or feeling into it, acceptance is wholeness and judgment is separateness. So integrating, right? So welcoming all parts of yourself, whether that be a past version of you or a certain behavior or a shadow part of yourself that you may feel judgment towards. Just really inviting all parts to come out and integrating them as a whole, accepting them fully. And I know that for me, what really works is having an inner dialogue. So whether that be with a past version of myself, or whether that be with a certain part of myself that I feel confused about or that I may not really like, and just really being curious about it, asking why it's here, asking what it's trying to do for you and what it needs and how you can love it. And those are like some practical steps that you can do, is really getting into that inner dialogue, really practicing self-forgiveness, self-compassion, and self-love towards those versions of yourself and towards those parts of yourselves. And you can do this through mantras. For example, I love myself for who I am. I forgive all past versions of myself. I welcome in every expression of me, just like things that feel really good for you, or I'm whole and beautiful exactly as I am. And repeating these phrases to yourself, maybe in front of a mirror, can really help you cultivate that feeling of wholeness and acceptance for yourself. So, I invite you to journal about a past self that you may still feel resentment towards, that you may still feel some sort of anger or unresolved issues towards, and write a letter of compassion, write a letter of thanks, of gratitude, and try looking at it from a lens of what they did for you and how they helped you get to where you are right now. And I just want to remind you as well that wholeness is a ongoing journey, and each step that you take that holds a little bit of self-compassion and self-forgiveness helps you get closer to that whole version of yourself that's already within you. You are already whole, and you are already enough and beautiful as you are. And just really going back to past versions of yourself to add some more acceptance and add some more loves can really help you integrate who you really are as a whole being. Thank you so much for listening. And I also want to tell you that I offer one-on-one coaching. I have containers, but I also have separate one-on-one sessions. So whatever you feel called to, you can head over to my website and have a look. And I hope to connect with you. And then I'll see you next week.